Mark, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us. I believe this is your second visit down under. How was the officiating the other night, and how was your second trip to Australia going so far?
Yeah, it's an amazing. I love coming down to Australia, and when Ben Wilson requested me services to come and referee the friendly against Brazil, I was delighted, and to come to Melbourne. But what's important also is not just the refereeing side, is to pass on my experiences. I passed on my experiences last night in Melbourne, which was greatly appreciated, and hopefully some of the younger referees can gain some of the knowledge that I passed on, and hopefully tonight and then in Perth tomorrow people can gain some knowledge, and hopefully young referees that we can aspire to become the next myself or Jared, and we can see them moving up the A-League and hopefully the top FIFA referees into the next World Cups.
Good segue there to my next question. So you're in Adelaide for this special referee Q&A. What are you hoping to pass on to our refereeing community here in South Australia?
A bit of both. I want to give them some experiences, some of my downfalls, what I've had as a referee over the years, and I've had some downfalls, but then I've had the highs, and that's what I want to show, that when you do get your downs, and that happens on grassroots for sure, and they're getting the difficult parents and the difficult coaches, and I've had it, so I know how they're experiencing it. They've got to see that there's the downsides, but the rewards are so big, and if you're never going to make it as a footballer, it's the next best thing. That for example, stand in the MCG on Tuesday evening. As a footballer, I could never have dreamt to do that. So there's an avenue where, as a referee, you can see the world and be a part of one of the best sports in the world. And but I also want to pass on some funny stories of stories that I've had in the Premier League, and I'm sure they'll enjoy a bit of both.
Excellent. It'll be good to see that side of referees, because we don't usually see that side of things. So you've refereed Premier League, Champions Leagues, European Championship final, FA Cups, the Olympics. How do you deal with the pressure?
I used to struggle when I was a young referee, and that was the hardest thing, because when I made a mistake, especially in games, I used to fret, because I was a bit of a perfectionist, and I wanted to get every decision correct, and I used to fret about it and worry about it, and then I used to get the next one wrong. In the Premier League, we were fortunate; we had sports psychologists who used to support us if we needed it. But I was very much focused that I was on social media. I didn't really read much of the media because it didn't really interest us. All I was interested in was my performance on a weekend or midweek, and then I would analyse my game by video, and that would take probably 48 hours to reflect, try and improve, because I don't think there's probably one game which we'll probably talk about tonight, but I don't think there's any game where I've been perfect. I'm trying to find better solutions. I'm always looking for balance in games, and if I don't get that balance right, I get disappointed with myself. But after 48 hours, I've got to move on to the next one.
Just really quickly, you mentioned video assistance there. There's been a lot of talk recently, and we're starting to see it gradually being introduced in the game. Personally, what are your views on it, and do you think we'll see it in the game as a full permanent thing in the near future?
For sure, it'll be permanent. FIFA, it was one of FIFA's projects, and the vision is to have it in 2018 in Russia in a format that people are comfortable with. At the moment, we're going through a testing phase because we're trying to implement something quickly. If we look back at goal line technology, ball over the line, even though that's a simple decision, or you think it's a simple decision, it took 4 years of planning. So we're now trying to bring this video refereeing in, which in its format is still a little bit leaving people in the dark. Media are saying, well, that's a penalty. Some referees are saying it's not, and we've still got I wouldn't say inconsistencies, but that's the love of football, where people are still debating the decisions, and people don't understand that the video isn't for debatable decisions. It's where there's a clear and obvious error. And I spoke to Sean yesterday from the A-League, and we're just talking about decisions that have happened, and he was talking to me about a penalty, for example. If there's small contact, the media and the pundits will say that's not enough for a penalty. But if the referee whistles it, then when you review, it has to be no contact, and it has to be a yellow card for simulation, or because there's contact, you have to award the penalty on video. And this is the difficult thing with video, because it isn't a clear and obvious error. Because there's contact, you still have to go with the on-field decision. So there's no chance in its current format to put right the decisions that people are saying that's clearly wrong. And it's going to cause many problems for the next 6 to 12 months till they get a protocol that everybody's comfortable with and we can move forward. But for me, the referee has to make the final decision, and that's where I think the referee probably has to review it more than get a second opinion. And I'm sure the referee, if he's honest, probably would like to review it himself and think that's probably not what I would have done in other matches, and call the decision that should be right for football.
Something a bit more light-hearted. What's been your most enjoyable match that you've ever officiated? And on the opposite end of the spectrum, what's been the most challenging?
Probably the same game. From a challenge point of view, it was the Champions League final, because it's the biggest sport and watched event in the world. Over 1 billion people, bigger than the Super Bowl, so the pressure. You know that when you're refereeing the biggest teams in Europe, you're going to get a worldwide audience, and that's big pressure. In the first 10 minutes was the hardest 10 minutes of my refereeing career, because I had a game plan, and my game plan I was executing, but I knew if it went wrong, the game would have went horribly wrong, and I would have been criticised from all parts of the world. Lucky enough, the first 10 minutes I got through, and my game plan was executed to perfection, and people give us the praise that it deserved, because I set a game plan out and we got the best game out of it possible. And that's probably the most enjoyable, because when your game plan goes to plan, and the game is enjoyable, that nobody's talking about the referee, and you get so much good balance during the game. And we talk about penalty kicks are probably the best format for referees. It's not for players, but for referees it's the best, because you don't decide the match, the players decide it. And that's people, even if there's little things in the game, everybody still talks about the person who misses the penalties. So as a referee, you just think, yeah, get the penalties and we'll go from there. And that's what the Champions League final did for me, and left Cristiano Ronaldo. I was just fate that he was going to score the winning penalty.
Just finally, Mark, obviously you know South Australia is a huge state, and we probably won't have that many referees come all the way from regional areas tonight, and some of which don't have access to the types of resources that metropolitan referees could access. What advice would you give to them to keep that hunger going and to strive to perform the best that they can be in the refereeing world?
But there's it's difficult, because when I was coming through my system, even in one of the most cosmopolitan parts of the world, where refereeing is, I've got 30,000 active referees and full-time for 13 years. When I was coming through the system, I didn't have the support. You have to be strong-willed, you need a strong family, you need strong friends that will support you, and you need to have the focus and drive to want to achieve. But now there's many supports. You've got your colleagues. If at grassroots they're not having the best of times, and at the moment I've just signed as international academy director for You Are the Referee, which gives people a chance to get support online. So it's like an e-learning process, which gives grassroots referees who aren't getting supported because the federations haven't got the time and resources. This resource gives referees an opportunity to speak to top referees around the world to gain their experience for a small fee. And it's probably a fee worth paying, because, and that's not me trying to promote it, it's the fact of it bridges a gap where young referees can learn the laws of the game, they can learn practical law. But it's not just about refereeing, it's about understanding. And I speak about this a lot, where referees are very similar to policemen. You've got a law, but you can use your tolerance levels to find the best suit. And if you've got a difficult person on the streets with a policeman, it's how you deal with them and how you interact with them can have the best effect. It's the same with football. You've got the law if you want to go back to it, but sometimes you can use your experience to get a better result.
Mark, thank you very much for your time. Enjoy your time in Adelaide and South Australia.